Like, if you're a basketball fan, you grow up a fan, like, you love the Celtics. Well, maybe I guess you could hate them, but I think for myself, like, the Celtics is one of the premier organizations of the NBA. Like, you always grow up knowing what the Celtics are about, and obviously having won a championship 2 years ago now, it's kind of cool to just be in this building and kind of, you know, surround yourself with the greatness that is played in this arena over the course of however many years. So I think it's a great opportunity for people in this city or fans around the area to come and support a W team here. And
she walked into TD Garden like she had something to prove, and she did. Just weeks ago, the Connecticut Sun left Caitlin Clark bruised, poked in the eye, body checked, and betrayed by the officials who let it all slide. But this time, it was different. The crowd was electric, 19,000 strong, and they weren't cheering for Boston. They were there for Clark. They were there for payback. What followed looked like a movie script. The Indiana Fever didn't just show up, they took over. Clark was calm, locked in, and unshaken. She orchestrated the offense like a maestro, turning her teammates into scoring weapons and exposing every hole in Connecticut's defense. And while the fans cheered every bucket, nobody realized what was really happening. History, right in front of their eyes. Caitlin Clark didn't just lead her team to victory, she quietly shattered 3 WNBA records in one night. But just when it looked like a perfect ending, everything changed. With under a minute left, she made a pass, then froze. She clutched her right leg, her face twisted in pain. The crowd fell silent. She limped to the bench, fighting back tears. From breaking records to fearing the worst, all in a matter of seconds. What happened next could change everything. Stick around, because this is more than just a game. It's the rise, the risk, and the reality of being a superstar. If you felt that moment when Clark went down, if you held your breath like the rest of us, hit that like button and drop a comment with speedy recovery. Caitlin, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. We're following this story closely, and you won't want to miss what happens next. In a night that was supposed to be just another regular season matchup, TD Garden transformed into the epicenter of one of the most emotionally charged and history-making nights in recent WNBA memory. The Indiana Fever walked into Boston to face the Connecticut Sun. But this wasn't just another road game, it was a moment of reckoning. The atmosphere was electric, with 19,156 fans flooding the arena, many of them wearing Fever gear, turning what should have been hostile territory into something that felt eerily like home. The energy was palpable from tip-off, with echoes of "Let's Go Fever" bouncing off the rafters, creating a surreal home court-like advantage for Indiana in one of the NBA's most iconic venues. And at the center of it all stood Caitlin Clark, fully aware of the weight she carried into this game, not just the expectations from fans, but the lingering tension from a previous encounter with this very Sun team. That memory, burned into the minds of viewers and athletes alike, set the tone for what would unfold. This was not just a basketball game. This was about redemption, revenge, and resilience. To understand the fire that fueled this game, we have to rewind the clock to June 17th, when the Indiana Fever and Connecticut Sun clashed in a now infamous showdown. That game quickly spiraled into one of the most controversial and physically brutal matchups of the season. Caitlin Clark, the Fever's rising superstar, was subjected to what many call dirty basketball tactics, most notably an eye poke from J.C. Sheldon and a blatant body check by Marina Mabry. The referees allowed the physicality to escalate unchecked, leading to multiple scuffles, technical fouls, and widespread outrage among fans and analysts. Despite obvious flagrant fouls, no ejections were made, and Clark bore the brunt of the violence. What should have been an ordinary game turned into a PR nightmare for the league, sparking conversations about player safety, fairness, and officiating standards in the WNBA. It wasn't just Clark who took the hits, it was the credibility of the league that was bruised. That game left emotional scars and sparked a firestorm on social media, with many calling for changes in how games were officiated and how young stars like Clark were being protected or not on the court. Coming back to the present, the energy in TD Garden hinted that this rematch wouldn't be business as usual. But the Fever weren't just back for revenge, they were back transformed. There was a noticeable shift in the team's chemistry and mentality. The Fever had learned from their June defeat and came prepared with a defensive and emotional edge. Sophie Cunningham emerged as Clark's on-court protector, clearly ready to intervene if any cheap shots were attempted. The team circled around Clark, visibly united and far more cohesive than in previous outings. This wasn't the same squad that had let their star player face the fire alone. Now, they moved like a unit, each player clearly understanding their role, ready to step up and throw their support behind their playmaker. Connecticut tried to use the same aggressive tactics from June: full court pressure, double teams, baiting contact, but this time, Indiana didn't crack. They met aggression with poise and intensity with composure, signaling that they were no longer the easy target they once were. What followed was one of the most balanced and beautiful displays of team basketball Indiana had showcased all season. The Fever rediscovered the identity that had made them so dangerous early in the year: quick ball movement, attacking pace, and unselfish play. Clark returned to orchestrating the offense instead of simply being the scoring engine. The ball zipped from player to player, the pace picked up, and the Sun were constantly forced to scramble. Possessions that had previously stalled or ended in forced shots now ended with open looks and confident finishes. The Fever looked alive again, moving with purpose and clarity. Each player on the court contributed in ways that reflected trust and a shared sense of purpose. This wasn't the Caitlin Clark show, this was Indiana Fever basketball at its best, and it all stemmed from the decision to put the ball back in Clark's hands and let her lead the way as a facilitator. The team effort was undeniable. Kelsey Mitchell lit up the scoreboard with 20 points, capitalizing on the defensive pressure placed on Clark by finding space and hitting shots with precision. Natasha Howard was a dominant force in the paint, racking up 18 points and 13 rebounds while stretching the Suns' interior defense thin. Her physical presence gave Indiana the edge in second chance opportunities and rim protection. Off the bench, Sophie Cunningham added crucial momentum shifts with key three-pointers and gritty defensive plays, ensuring the team never lost its spark. Even Aaliyah Boston, though struggling with her shot, made her presence felt with rebounds and assists, underscoring the Fever's depth. Every player knew their role and executed it. It was a performance that proved Indiana didn't need one player to do it all. They had the pieces to overwhelm opponents through teamwork and execution. While the team executed their plan to near perfection, Caitlin Clark quietly etched her name into the WNBA record books in a way that went largely unnoticed in the moment. Her shooting numbers were far from spectacular, just 4 for 14 from the field and 1 for 7 from three-point range, but those stats didn't tell the full story. What did was the historic milestone she achieved. First, she became the fastest player in league history to reach 450 career assists, doing so in just 53 games and surpassing a record that had stood since the 1990s. Then, she followed it by becoming the fastest to hit 150 career three-pointers, another sign of her immediate impact on the league. But the most consistent and arguably most impressive achievement was extending her streak of 5 or more assists to 40 straight games, the longest such run in WNBA history. These records didn't come with fanfare or dramatic celebration. They happened quietly, woven into the rhythm of a game that was as much about team redemption as it was about individual glory. The final minutes of the game offered a masterclass in closing. With the Fever clinging to a narrow lead, Caitlin Clark completely took over. In a 5-minute stretch that left even seasoned commentators stunned, Clark managed to outscore the entire Connecticut Sun team on her own. Her court vision sharpened, her drives became more aggressive, and her decision-making was flawless. She found open teammates, created lanes that didn't seem to exist, and hit shots when it mattered most. That stretch encapsulated why Clark is not just a star, but a game-changer. She doesn't need to shoot lights out to dominate, she manipulates the flow of the game and bends it to her will. With each possession, she controlled the tempo, silenced the crowd, and reminded everyone why she's one of the most electrifying players in the league today. But just as the Fever were preparing to celebrate a triumphant win and Clark's incredible night, disaster struck. With less than a minute remaining, Clark made a routine pass to Kelsey Mitchell, then immediately clutched her right leg and grimaced in pain. The crowd fell silent as she limped toward the bench, clearly in discomfort. Replays showed her grabbing at her groin, a familiar and worrying sight for Fever fans. The same injury had plagued her earlier in the season, and seeing her react with such visible frustration and pain sent shockwaves through the arena. Tears welled in her eyes as she sat on the bench, her body language a stark contrast to the confident commander who had just dominated the game minutes earlier. It wasn't just pain, it was the fear of setback, of uncertainty, and of missing what could be the highlight of her rookie season. The timing of the injury couldn't have been worse. With All-Star Weekend just days away and hosted in her home state of Indiana, Clark was slated to be a team captain and headline the three-point contest. Her potential absence from these marquee events would be a blow not only to her personal momentum, but also to the league's marketing efforts and fan engagement. The WNBA has leaned heavily on Clark's star power this season, and her participation in All-Star Weekend was expected to draw massive crowds and viewership. Coach Stephanie White offered only vague updates, stating Clark felt something in her groin and would be evaluated further. That uncertainty only heightened the concerns surrounding her condition. The league, the team, and millions of fans were left holding their breath, hoping this injury wasn't as serious as it looked. Ultimately, this night at TD Garden became a snapshot of the emotional roller coaster that defines professional sports. It showcased the best of what the game has to offer: teamwork, redemption, history, and the gut-wrenching lows that come with injury and uncertainty. The Indiana Fever notched a crucial 85-77 victory, proving they are a team capable of rising to the occasion and executing under pressure. Caitlin Clark rewrote the record books and reminded everyone of her undeniable impact. But the moment that will linger in fans' minds isn't just the records, it's the image of Clark on the bench, holding her leg, eyes glassy with tears, unsure of what comes next. In a season filled with highlights, this night was a vivid reminder that even greatness comes with its share of heartbreak. Caitlin Clark's night at TD Garden was a perfect storm: revenge, history, and heartbreak all in one game. The Fever looked unstoppable, the records were undeniable, but that one moment of pain changed everything. Now the league holds its breath, and fans everywhere wait for answers. Will she recover in time for All-Star Weekend, or did one of the greatest performances of her career come at a high cost? Time will tell. Until then, stay locked in, we'll keep you updated every step of the way.